Imagine a scream. Really profound, heartbreaking, but completely silent. A scream that kind of echoes the untold struggles of, well, countless lives. Today we're journeying into a powerful work that brings exactly that silent scream vividly to the stage. So here on the Deep Dive, our mission, as always, is to take your sources, peel back the layers, and really unearth the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight. We're here to give you that shortcut to being truly well-informed, hopefully with some surprising facts and maybe just enough humor to keep you hooked. Today we're diving deep into a truly poignant and definitely socially charged play by the renowned Indian playwright Mahesh Dattani. The work is titled Tara, a silent scream of the Indian girl child.
Yeah, and what's so compelling, I think, is how Dattani uses this incredibly personal, tragic story to really expose much broader societal issues. This isn't just, a play. It's like a mirror held right up to society. It forces reflection on things like gender discrimination, deep emotional trauma, and that complex, often really painful journey of identity.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive then is to unpack this powerful social drama. We want to understand its core themes and maybe explore how it compels audiences, how it makes you confront some pretty uncomfortable truths. So maybe let's start by unpacking the central story itself. At its core, Tara revolves around conjoined twins. There's a girl, Tara, and a boy, Chandan, and they undergo surgical separation right at birth.
And what becomes clear almost immediately, really starkly, is that the surgery overtly favors the boy, Chandan. And crucially, this isn't presented as some kind of medical necessity. It's explicitly driven by parental bias, particularly from the mother and the grandfather. They just believe the male child inherently deserves a better future. That single decision basically sets the stage for all the tragedy that follows.
Right. And here's where it gets really interesting, I think, structurally. The play isn't told in a straight line, is it? We actually follow Chandan. He's now living in London, trying to write a memoir. And he's really struggling, trying to process this profound guilt and grief over his sister Tara's death and just the deep injustice she faced. And it's through his fragmented memories and reflections, these flashbacks, that we see Tara's emotional and physical suffering unfold. Exactly. It's quite cleverly done.
Imagine carrying that kind of guilt, that kind of history. You can already feel the emotional weight of it, can't you? Just how deeply this must haunt him.
Oh, absolutely. It's a really powerful exploration of how one sort of seemingly private family decision just ripples outward. It impacts individual lives profoundly, but also reflects these massive societal inequities. So this tragic personal story becomes a lens, really, through which the play illuminates, I'd say, about 5 major themes. Okay, 5 themes. Let's dig into those. The most obvious one, the critique that hits you first, it really centers on patriarchal norms, right? Tara, she's described as bright, intelligent, warm, but she's systematically denied opportunities, denied medical fairness, even simple affection, really, just because she's a girl. It's heartbreaking to watch unfold.
It really is, and it raises such a critical question. Just how deeply ingrained are these biases when they can actually sway medical decisions? Things that you think should be purely objective, focused only on the patient's well-being. Dattani really forces the audience to confront that uncomfortable truth head on.
And it gets even more complex because it's not just external societal pressure, is it? Tara's own mother, Farhadi, she's complicit in this biased decision that really complicates the whole picture.
It absolutely does. Dattani illustrates so powerfully how societal pressure can warp even maternal love, how it can force women themselves to become instruments of the very system that oppresses them. It's a stark reminder, I think, that patriarchy isn't just about men in power. It's also about these deeply internalized biases that can make even victims complicit in their own or others' suffering.
Wow. So Chandan's storyline then, his whole arc is really about the aftermath of all this. He suffers this deep, persistent guilt. It drives him to move away to London, and he even writes under a pseudonym, like he's desperately trying to escape his past.
Yes, and his trauma speaks volumes about the emotional cost of silence and denial. And it's not just for the direct victim, like Tara, it's also for those who are complicit, or in Chandan's case, the beneficiaries of that injustice. The play shows how that burden just festers and manifests years later. It doesn't just go away.
And Tara's identity itself, it feels like it's continually stifled throughout the play. Her scream is silent. That metaphor is just incredibly powerful. It anchors the entire work.
It really does. It symbolizes, I think, countless girls, maybe millions, whose struggles are ignored or just dismissed outright. whose potential is never allowed to blossom, whose voices are effectively silenced before they even get a chance to speak. In a way, the play gives voice to the voiceless through her silence.
That brings us to another really unsettling element, the medical ethics side. The doctor performing the surgery, he's manipulated. This immediately raises ethical red flags, obviously. But what's maybe most unsettling about how Dattani presents this manipulation?
Well, it's that it isn't shown as like forceful coercion, someone twisting his arm. It's more subtle. It's a kind of bending to the societal will, to the family's expectations and their influence. It really challenges us to consider how easily bias can subtly corrupt even decisions that should be purely objective based on science and medicine. And it highlights the long-term devastating ripple effects of such a compromise on actual human lives.
So it's not just about one bad actor, one unethical doctor, maybe. It's about a systemic pressure that can compromise even the most trusted professions.
That's a chilling thought. Okay, so beyond these really powerful themes, Dattani uses some incredibly potent symbolism to amplify these messages too, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He's a master at that. For instance, Tara's crippled body itself becomes a direct, almost visceral symbol of female suppression, of neglected potential. Her physical state is literally embodying the societal limitations forced upon her.
And the surgical separation itself, that has to be a metaphor, right?
Precisely. A very powerful one. It stands for the gender divide itself, the idea where the boy is granted, quote-unquote, wholeness and opportunity, but at the devastating cost of the girl's suffering and her diminishment. It's like a literal cutting off of one person's potential for the sake of the other's perceived gain.
And Chandan's move, his self-imposed exile to London, what does that represent in this symbolic landscape? I think it represents a desperate attempt at escape, and denial. Putting physical distance between himself and an incredibly painful past, but ultimately the play suggests it's a failed attempt at redemption. It highlights that physical distance just doesn't erase emotional burdens or the deep scars of injustice. His guilt essentially follows him across continents.
Yeah, you get that sense strongly. The characters themselves are so vividly drawn, too. Each one seems to reflect different facets of this whole societal drama. Tara, obviously, she's portrayed as bright, loving, spirited, resilient right up until the end. She truly embodies that silenced potential and ultimately tragic loss.
And Chandan, her brother, he's sensitive, deeply guilt-ridden. He seems to carry the emotional burden for perhaps all male beneficiaries of patriarchy in this context. His struggle to reconcile with his past is absolutely central to the play's emotional weight.
Then there's Prati, the mother. She's such a tragic figure, isn't she? You feel for her, even as you see her actions. She's caught between her presumably maternal love and these crushing societal expectations. And her partiality. It's shown as both conscious in a way, but also forced.
Yes, it's very nuanced. And Patel, the father, he often appears quite detached, rational even. But his passivity, his inaction in the face of such clear injustice, makes him a powerful symbol of sort of male complicity. He observes, he might disapprove quietly, but he largely fails to act decisively.
Right. And then finally, there's the grandfather. He's almost the pure embodiment of deep-rooted patriarchy. His influence is shown to lead directly to that unethical, devastating decision about the surgery that really sets the entire play in motion.
Exactly. Each character, even the seemingly minor ones, they all serve to illuminate different aspects of this pervasive patriarchal system that the play is critiquing.
So beyond the story and the characters, Dattani's mastery as a playwright really shines through, doesn't it? How does he actually achieve this emotional depth and impact on stage?
Well, he masterfully blends very realistic dialogue, sounds like how people actually talk, with a nonlinear narrative structure, especially using Chandan's monologues and flashbacks. This adds just immense psychological depth. It allows us, the audience, to delve into these fragmented memories and the internal turmoil of the characters. The script itself is incredibly emotionally charged. It can be quite poetic in parts, but it's also brutally honest in how it portrays human flaws and these deep societal ills.
And it seems like the critical reception for Tara has been overwhelmingly positive over the years. It really seems to have resonated.
Oh, definitely. It's widely acclaimed. Praised for its nuanced, its emotional, and its very theatrical approach to raising awareness about gender bias. It's actually become something of a staple in academic studies, gender studies, sociology, postcolonial literature. It's praised not just for its boldness in tackling the subject, but for its profound insight into complex human dynamics and societal structures. It's seen as a very important work.
So if we bring all this together, this deep dive into Tara, A silent scream of the Indian girl child really shows us it's far more than just a play, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a powerful, haunting narrative, yes, but it compels us, it compels you to reflect on the silent suffering of countless individuals. And it urges not just empathy, which is important, but also critical awareness and ultimately a demand for systemic change. It's almost a call to action wrapped up in a really compelling human story.
It truly is like that mirror you mentioned earlier, held up to society, exposing hypocrisy, challenging assumptions we might not even realize we hold about gender, about fairness, about family. So maybe as you go about your day, think about the silent screams that might be around you. What hidden injustices exist just beneath the surface of what's openly discussed in your own communities or workplaces?
Yeah, and maybe consider how individual choices, even those that feel like they're made under immense societal pressure, like Ferrati's, how they contribute to the larger fabric of injustice. And conversely, how individual empathy and just critical thinking, questioning things, how that can potentially spark profound change. And perhaps think about how can we help amplify voices that have been stifled? How can we help turn a silent scream into a resonant call for justice?
That is certainly a lot to mull over. Some really powerful questions raised by this play. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Tara. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.